Hello again. We are going to be looking at factorising in this video. Factorising is an algebra skill, and what factorising basically is the opposite to expanding. When you expand brackets, you have a question where you start off with something that's inside brackets and you multiply it to take it out of brackets. When you factorise, you have a question that starts off with no brackets, and the idea is that you end up with some brackets. People find factorising quite difficult, and I suppose with good reason. It's not one of the easiest things to be able to do. So I'm going to show you a little trick that helps with things that are from the easiest to the hardest. If you follow this little routine, you are going to find it so simple. So let's get started then. A little bit of thought required at each level on factorising. You're finding factors. Remember, factors are things that divide into other things. So my first question here, 2x plus 10. We've got to make that into something that can have brackets in it. And to start with, I've begun by drawing two boxes, and between the two boxes, I've put a plus sign because that's what's in the question. Okay? On the first side of the plus sign is 2x, and I'm going to write that out in a way that is a little bit more expanded. I'm going to write 2 times x. And on the other side, I'm not just going to write 10. I'm going to see if I can link it with anything in this first box. Now 10 could also be 2 times 5, couldn't it? Right, it can't be related to the x in any way. It's got to be related to the 2 because obviously we don't know what the x is. So I'm going to rewrite 10 as 2 times 5. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look in both of my boxes to see if the same thing exists in each box. And of course it does. There's a 2 in each box. I'm going to cross it out and I'm going to write that there. And that is going to go on the outside of my bracket. The things that are common, the common factors. Now on the inside of the bracket, I'm left with what's in the box now. I've got an x and I've got a 5. And between the two of them is a plus. And that's it. I've factorised 2x plus 10 and made it become 2 times x plus 5. If you expand that bracket again, just to double check it, 2 lots of x makes 2x, 2 lots of 5 makes 10. Back to where we started. Okay, so by using these boxes, we're going to make life much, much easier than you've probably ever seen it before in a factorising question. Let's take a look at the next one and let's just practice and get used to the idea. So we've got x squared plus 5x. In that first box, I'm not just going to write x squared. Everything's got to be pulled out to the biggest amount that's available to us. So x times x is what x squared is, isn't it? In the second box, I really want something that's in common with the first box. I've got 5x. Well, that's really 5 times x. There's no other way of writing it. But I have got something in common with what was in the first box because there's an x in both boxes. Right, cross out what's there in both boxes. There's an x in this box, there's an x in that box, so the x is going outside of the brackets. What's left over, remembering there's a plus sign in the middle, is another x and a 5. X plus 5. And there it is. We've factorised it. X squared plus 5x has been factorised into x times x plus 5. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. So it's all factorised. Now we're going to steadily make these things get a little bit harder so that you can see that it still works even in the most complex ones. Just to give you a quick clue, in a few more minutes you'll be doing this and finding it really, really easy. But not yet. Let's just build up. 5x squared plus 4x. Now, that is going to be written out as 5 times x times x. Can you see why that would be? 5 lots of x squared. X squared is x times x. So it's 5 times x times x. On the other side, it's 4 times x. And again, I need to know that there's something in there that matches. And there is an x in there that matches. The numbers can't match, can they? The numbers, like we earlier on when we had 2 lots of 5 making 10, we can't find that link between 5 and 4, so we're not going to try. So let's see what is in both of our boxes. We have an x and an x, nothing else. So the x is going on the outside of the brackets. On the first side of the brackets, we've still got in this box 5x. We've got a minus sign in the middle, and on the second box we've just got a 4. So there we go. So 5x squared minus 4x factorises into x times 5x minus 4. X times 5x is 5x squared, and x times minus 4 is minus 4x. Hope this is becoming quite easy for you. I hope you're beginning to see how useful these boxes are. Let's go a step harder. We're getting towards that big one that I showed you. 2x squared. Alright, so let's write it down. 2 times x times x. Good grief. Let me write that x again. I do apologise. Lost control of my pen. 2 times x times x. Now, in the second box, can you first of all see, because you've got to sometimes use your brain with this one, can you see that 8 is on the 2 times table? So we could do that as something related to the 2. So we could do it as 2 times 4 times x. Because to factorise, and to certainly fully factorise, as you'll sometimes see in some questions, you need as many links as you can possibly get. So let's have a look what we're going to get here then. Over in the first box, compare it. We've got a 2. We've also got an x. Nothing else matches, so open the brackets. Remaining on this side, we've got an x minus, and over on this side, a 4. Okay, it's factorised. It's done. Completely finished. Let's keep going. 8x cubed plus 4x squared. Okay, now before we start, because this is where you can be caught out, because we've got the big number on this side, remember that x is 2 lots of 4, isn't it? Yeah? 2 lots of 4. So let's do 2 times 4. This is going to be a bit small. 2 times 4 times, I'll move my hand in a second, x times x times x, because that's what x cubed is. Over on this side, I'm going to do 4 times x times x. Okay, so what we're going to do now? Well, we're going to look for links together and see what we can find. Let's just take a little look. We've got 4x x. Okay, so now we've got 4x squared. Open the brackets up. Now what's going to happen here? This is interesting, isn't it? Over on this side we've got 2 and an x, so 2x plus, and what we got here? Nothing. Now, very, very important here. Do not write nothing. To keep that as 4x squared on the outside, it's times 1. It's not times nothing, because if you do times nothing, it's going to disappear. 4x squared is times by 1. Okay, so please, if you empty a box, if you discover that there is nothing left in that box, do not write 0 it is 1. You're multiplying by 1 to keep it the same. All right, moving on. 5xy times 10x. Can you see there's a link between 5 and 10? So this is going to be 5 times x times y. And on this side, I'm going to write 5 times 2 times x. What is in common? There's a 5. There's an x. That's on the outside of the bracket. Over on this side, we still have a y left over. There's a plus sign in the middle. Over on the second side, we have a 2 left over. Okay. That's it. I hope you're getting the hang of this. I hope it's making sense. The only difficult part here, of course, is crossing out these various numbers and figuring out what the link between the numbers is. That's where it gets a bit tricky, but there has to be something difficult. All right, the monster. Let's take a look at this now. 10a squared b plus 15ab. Okay, starting with those numbers, there's a link, isn't there? They're both on the 5 times table. So 10 is 2 times 5 times a, which is the a squared, times b. 15 is 3 times 5 times a times b. All right, so what can we find that goes into the outside part of our bracket? Well, we have a 5 in common. We have just one a, and we have a b. That's outside the bracket. Everything left over. On this side, we have 2a, plus in the middle, and over on this side, there's just a 3. And that's finished. Okay, and if you want to check it out, of course, re-multiply it, expand the bracket in the way that you know how to. 5 lots of ab times 2a, 5 2s are 10, a times a is a squared, and then the b is on its own, 10a squared b. On the other side, 5 3s are 15, ab, there's nothing else to multiply those by, so it remains there. That's factorising at a fairly straightforward level. Now, if you want to do quadratic factorising, there is another video for that because it's a very different ball game. But I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. I hope it's made sense to you, and thanks for watching. See you again soon.